Vanakkam. Today I am going to take up a very important subject. This is a scheme announced by the central government for MSME sector, because this is a scheme which is being announced by our finance minister during our COVID-19 scheme. This is a credit guarantee scheme for subordinate debt. It is called as CGSSD. This scheme is a guarantee scheme framed by Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. The scheme is covered by reference number CGT-MSC/03 dated 24/6/2020, issued by Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for Micro and Small Enterprises, as well as by the reference number DOR BP BC number 01/21.04.048/2021 dated 1/7/2020 by the Reserve Bank of India. I request you to go through the reference circulars issued by the Ministry of Micro and Small Enterprises, and also by the circulars issued by the Credit Guarantee Fund Trust, as well as by the circulars issued by Reserve Bank of India for detailed reference. I am going to highlight the scheme for the benefit of the members who are viewing this video. The scheme name is called as Distressed Asset Fund Subordinate Debt for Stressed MSMEs. The credit facilities have to be extended by eligible and registered scheduled commercial banks to micro, small and medium enterprises. So NBFC is not covered here. The credit product for which the guarantee is provided under the scheme shall be called as Credit Guarantee Fund Scheme for Subordinate Debt, that is CGSSD. This scheme comes into effect from 24/6/2020. The main purpose of this scheme is to help the restructuring of MSME units by way of providing guarantee coverage for the CGSSD through subdebt support. This means providing additional loan to MSME units in addition to the existing loans through scheduled commercial banks. A credit guarantee fund trust for micro and small enterprises is being set up by Government of India and SIDBI with the purpose of guaranteeing credit facilities extended by member lending institution to the eligible borrowers for the purpose of this scheme. The main and sole objective of the scheme is to provide personal loans through banks to the promoters of stressed MSMEs for infusion as equity or quasi-equity in the eligible for restructuring of stressed MSME advances. Under this scheme, all scheduled commercial banks have been included in the list of MLI/lending institution at present. NBFC is not included here at present. The scheme would be applicable to all credit facilities sanctioned under CGSSD for a maximum period of 10 years from the guarantee avail date or 31/3/2021, whichever is earlier, or till an amount of 20,000 crores of rupees guarantee amount is approved. So the scheme, that means the scheme will not extend after 31/3/2021 as per the present scheme rules and regulations. Those MSME units which are standard as on 31/3/2018 and have been in regular operations either as a standard asset or as NPA accounts during financial year 2018 and 19 and financial year 2019-20. This means NPA accounts which have been identified during the financial year 2018 and 19 and 2019 and 20 are eligible to get benefits under this scheme, but those units must have been a standard account as on 31/3/2018. From my point of view, I am of the opinion that those loan accounts which have been sanctioned after 31/3/2018 are not eligible for the benefit under this scheme. This is because the circular says the advance account should be in existence as on 31/3/2018 and a clarification is required in this regard. because as on 31/3/2018 that account should be a standard asset. So that means there are two conditions. One is that account should be standard as well as NPA during 18 and 19 and 19 and 20. So the loan sanctioned on or after 31/3/2018, I think it is not covered under this scheme. Even those borrowers where recovery proceedings are underway, such as through SARFAESI Act, DRT, suit filed and restructuring, are also benefited under this scheme. Those accounts which have been identified as fraudulent account and willful defaulter accounts will not be considered under this scheme. Suppose if any account is being identified as a fraudulent account and if the borrower is a willful defaulter, then they are not entitled to get any benefit under this scheme. In case any business is closed, that account has become NPA, if that business is closed, then for that business unit, this scheme is not applicable. NBFCs are not covered under this scheme, as the scheme is applicable only for the scheduled commercial banks. Personal loans will be provided to the promoters of the MSME units. The promoters of MSME units may be proprietorship, partnership, private limited company or registered company, etc. This scheme is valid for those MSME units which are trust, namely SMA2, that is outstanding for more than 61 days to 90 days, and NPA accounts as on 30/4/2020, and they are eligible for restructuring as per RBI guidelines on the books of the lending institution. NPA means an asset classified as non-performing based on the institutions and guidelines issued by RBI from time to time. Now I am going to discuss about the loan amount eligible under the guaranteed coverage. This is very important. Kindly watch till the end of the presentation. The guarantee coverage given by the trust will be provided to the eligible borrower for the credit facilities extended under this scheme. At this juncture, we have to know the guarantee coverage area as per the circular. Guarantee cover means maximum cover available per eligible borrower of the amount in default in respect of the credit facility extended by the lending institution. For this scheme, 90% of guarantee coverage would come from the scheme or trust and the remaining 10% from the concerned promoters. The credit will be extended by the member lending institution as part of the scheme to the promoters of this trust MSME to be infused by them in the form of equity, quasi-equity and sub-debt in the scheme which are commercially viable. The guarantee cover would be uncapped, unconditional and irrevocable guarantee. That guarantee should not be revoked by the government. So it should be irrevocable guarantee. The trust they have to give to the scheduled commercial banks. Under this scheme, the promoters of MSME units will be given credit equal to 15% of his stake, that is equity plus debt. Here debt means the funds introduced by the proprietor or partner or director as loan to the institution, whichever is lower. Here we will discuss this with an example. The total capital including promoter's loan worked out to say 250 lakhs. Here it is capital, total capital, that is equity plus loan given by the promoters to the unit. That is, it works out to 250. So 15% of 250, it worked out to 37.50 lakhs. So the sub-debt eligible under the scheme is 37.50 lakhs. Out of that, the guarantee given by the trust is 90%. That is 33.75% guarantee is only available under this scheme, and the promoter capital infusion as collateral is 10%, that is 3.75 lakhs. So here the guarantee coverage is only for 33.75. That is totally, first stage we have calculated the sub-debt. Second stage we have calculated the guarantee coverage. So 90% is to be borne by the trust and 10% has to be borne by the promoter as capital, additional capital as collateral. So 3.75 they have to introduce. Let us take another situation. So let us take the total capital including the promoter's loan worked out to 600 lakhs. 15% of 600 lakhs is 90 lakhs. But only up to 75 lakhs the sub-debt is eligible. So even though 15% of 600 lakhs worked out to 90 lakhs, the sub-debt eligible is only 75 lakhs. So guarantee cover given by the trust is 90% of 75 lakhs, that is 67.5 lakhs, and the remaining 10% has to be introduced by the promoter as capital infusion to the extent of 7.50 lakhs. So this is the thing we have to bear in mind. So next thing, there is no service charge or any other charge other than the guarantee commission fee towards this debt. So other than guarantee commission fee, no charges has to be levied by the MLI, that is member lending institution. Guarantee fee is payable on NPA cases, claim logic cases till the settlement of first claim and not up to the date of submission of the claim. So till the settlement of the first claim, first payment, the guarantee fee has to be paid by the MLI. So this guarantee fee has to be recovered from the borrower. So MLIs, there is the financial assistance provided as part of the scheme is to be treated as separate loan account, and the promoter need not infuse the said debt or loan account as promoter contribution in the form of equity into the MSME equity entity. Here, subordinate debt means credit facility extended to the promoters of the stressed units for infusion in the units as equity, including quasi-equity and sub-debt. Any guarantee approved under this scheme shall be over and above the existing loan guarantee sanctioned by the trust. The over and above eligible limit is 200 lakhs. That means those units who have borrowed more than 200 loans are eligible under this scheme. That means this scheme is going to be applied to those units which have borrowed 200 lakhs and above. So those loans limits which are below 200 lakhs are not eligible to be covered under this scheme. In case the borrower has existing limits with more than one lender, the CGST can be availed by the borrower through one lender only. That is those persons who have availed consortium advances from various banks. A declaration from the borrower regarding its other banking arrangement that it has not availed funding through scheme from the other lenders to be obtained by the lending MLA. Normally in this case the bankers, they knew that this party is under a consortium advances. If suppose the X bank is giving the loan, they will ask the customer to go and get the no objection letter from other banks. This is the procedure I think they will adopt, though they are getting the self-declaration. MLIs shall carry out their own due diligence to assess the viability, need and requirement of the said debt facility in respect of restructuring of stressed MSME units. Post restructuring, NPA classification of these accounts shall be as per the extent IRC norm, IRAC norms, income recognition and asset classification norms. That is, separate calculation towards NPA for said debt has to be calculated. As per IRAC norms, if one loan is identified as NPA, then all the accounts of the customer has to be identified as NPA. Here the concept of sub-debt is different and it's not clear with reference to the sub-debt. Anyhow, we will expect a clarification with reference to this point soon. That is, doing NPA calculation separately for this sub-debt in MSME units. This is because the NPA accounts are eligible to get the benefits under this scheme. MLI should ensure that the sub-debt and credit released to the promoters is brought back as equity and quasi-equity sub-debt in MSME units. Interest on this sub-debt will be decided by the banks, and RBI said banks are free to decide interest rate which are linked to the external benchmarks. So the interest rate has to be decided by the respective banks. The maximum loan period is fixed at 10 years. Out of this, moratorium towards principal is for 7 years, that is maximum. So that means bankers, even they can fix the loan period as 5 years also. So proportionately they have to adopt, they have to give moratorium, but the scheme government says it is maximum period is 10 years and 7 years moratorium has to be given towards principal, and during the moratorium the borrower has to make interest payment on monthly basis. So only after 7 years the principal amount plus interest has to be paid to the bank as per the loan sanction terms and conditions. So loan period is 10 years, pay interest for first 7 years on monthly basis till moratorium, pay principal and interest after moratorium within a period of 3 years as per the bank's terms and conditions. Then Prepayment of loan is also permitted. For that, no additional charge penalty will be levied by MLI on the borrower. The sub-debt facility so sanctioned by MLI will have second charge of the assets financed under the existing facilities for the entire tenor of the sub-debt facility. Here, the guarantee fee towards this loan has to be fixed at 1.5% per annum on outstanding balance in sub-account. So, till the account is being settled, even those accounts will become NPA. Every year, the bank, that is our MLI, that is member lending institution, they have to collect 1.5% guarantee fee on the outstanding balance. It is not on the sanction limit, on the outstanding balance. Then they have to make payment to the trust. Guarantee fee has to be borne by the borrower as per the arrangement arrived between the borrowers and MLI, and the same has to be recovered from the borrower. Guarantee fee paid to the trust will not be refunded at any circumstances except excess remittances made. Instead of 1.5%, if the bank or MLI calculated 2%, then the extra 0.5% will be refunded and remitted more than once against the same portfolio. Suppose instead of remitting for 1 year 1.5%, if they remitted another 1.5% on some other day, then the excess amount will be refunded by the trust to the MLI, because that account has to be, those guarantee commission has to be borne by the borrower. Ministry of MSME has provided the required corpus of 4,000 crore for operationalization of the scheme to CGT MSE, and any unutilized corpus amount left after meeting all the obligations under the scheme shall be returned to the ministry. It is the duty of MLI to inform the date. This is very, very important. Kindly take note of it. It is the duty of the MLI to inform the date on which the account was classified as NPA within 90 days of the account being classified as NPA. Suppose if you identify one account as NPA, from the NPA identification to date to 90 days, the same has to be informed to the trust by the MLI, so that the claim amount will be eligible. MLI is required to mark a particular case as NPA, which is classified as NPA as per RBI guidelines in CGT MSE online portal. The NPA marking needs to be done by MLI within the next quarter from it becomes NPA on the online portal. So next quarter, suppose if any loan is being identified as NPA on 35/2022, so you have to leave that quarter. So the quarter starts from July to September. That thing has to be informed by the MLI in the website, the online portal. If the claims made by MLIs are found to be in order and complete in all respects, the trust shall pay 75% of the guaranteed amount within 30 days of the claim made by the MLI. So in total, they are giving 90% of the sub-debt eligible. Out of that, it is not 90%. So they have fixed the loan guaranteed amount. Out of this, if the MLI made the claim, immediately on verification of everything records, the trust will pay 75% of the guaranteed amount within 30 days of the claim made by the MLI. The remaining 25% of the guaranteed amount will be paid on the conclusion of the recovery proceedings or till the decree gets time barred, whichever is earlier. So this is also another thing. So immediately they will not make the remaining 25%. The banks, they have to initiate recovery proceedings and initiate all legal actions. Then only they will get the remaining 25%. This means that the balance amount of 25% will be paid only after recovery claims before court of law have been court of law proceedings have been exhausted, or till the final stage of recovery proceedings against the borrower by MLI. Post invocation of guaranteed claim, if any recoveries are made, MLI shall first adjust such recoveries towards legal costs incurred by them for the recovery amount and their outstanding balance, that is balance of 25% has to be closed. In case if the recovery amount exceeds the balance outstanding after the receipt of claim, then the excess amount has to be recovered after settlement of legal costs and balance amount, and it has to be returned to the trust by MLI as it is trust fund. It is very, very simple. First, they will make a claim, then the trust will pay them 75%. Then the bank has to start initiation of recovery proceedings. Then if any amount comes, first they will adjust the legal cost. Then only the balance outstanding, that is in the remaining 25%, they accept. When doing the recovery proceedings, if the borrower remits, say 50%, then the excess of 25% after adjusting legal cost has to be returned to the trust. MLIs will have to enter an agreement with CGTMSE to avail the benefits under the scheme. The agreement is to be signed by the competent authority as deemed fit by the MLI. There is no requirement of board approval note for registration purpose under this scheme. MLIs have to submit their application to the trust for the guarantee coverage, and the same has to be given approval by the trust. Here it's a very, very technical thing they are saying. Kindly watch. MLIs have to submit their application to the trust for the guarantee coverage, and the same has to be given approval by the trust. Then only the subdebt scheme will be under the special window of the trust for the said scheme. In my view, the loan amount under the subdebt facility may be released by MLIs only after getting approval from the trust. Though the loan has got second charge over the existing properties, bankers will not take risk. That is, bankers means here member lending institutions. They intimate the sanction and pay the appropriate guarantee commission along with the details to the trust. On scrutiny of the application, the trust will approve or not approve the decision on that application. Based on that approval order only, the bankers may release the fund under this scheme, and this is my view. So sometimes bankers may release the fund and then go for approval, but they will not take risk because they say that only when the scheme is approved by the trust, then only the coverage will be there. So bankers now they go for an initial application and they will decide. The MLIs shall evaluate credit applications by using prudent banking judgment and shall use their business discretion, due diligence in selecting commercially viable proposals and conduct the accounts of the borrowers with normal banking prudence. This means that the sanction under this scheme is not straight. Only when MLI satisfy in all respects about the borrowers, the sanction under the scheme will be carried out, otherwise it is not. This is my view on this point. The lending institutions have to closely monitor the borrower's account and put all the required effort to ensure that the account is serviced regularly. It is the primary responsibility of the lending institutions to safeguard the primary security created out of this loan scheme and see that those primary security is good and enforceable and in enforceable conditions. The loan process sanctioned under this scheme should not be used. So this is the thing normally bankers what they will do. Suppose if they sanction any loan, they will adjust to the adjustment or overdues. The government clearly says the loan process sanctioned under this scheme should not be utilized to adjust either wholly or in part of any previously outstanding debts, overdues to the lending institutions, including those deemed debts bad or recovery. The intention of the government is clear that the borrower has to utilize the funds towards business development of MSME and has to come out all business problems. If the MLIs adjust towards the arrears, then the purpose of the scheme will be defeated. So government is very clear on this point. So MLIs have to submit guarantee claim application to the trust within the time prescribed, that is 90 days of that account become NPA. In case of default by the borrower, MLIs have to exercise its rights, if any, to take over the assets of the borrower and the account and the amount realized, if any, from the sale of such assets. The process realized would be first used to settle senior debt, that is existing debt other than the sub-debt. Any subsequent amount left post settlement of senior debt would be appropriated between the trust and the lending institutions in the ratio of extent of coverage. In order to lodge claims, the MLI has to see that the guarantee is in force at the time of account turning NPA and after completion of lock-in period of 18 months, that is from the guaranteed start date or last disbursement date, whichever is later. The responsibility of lending institutions will not end, and it is still there towards recovery even though the trust settled the claim amount. The lending institution shall exercise all the necessary precautions and maintain its course to the borrower for the entire amount of credit facility owed by it and initiate such necessary actions for recovery of the outstanding amount, including such action as advised by the trust. The lending institutions will have to follow all the instructions issued by the trust towards recovery of the subdebt loan. It is the duty of the lending institution to initiate all the recovery proceedings thinking that there is no claim available to the borrower. The lending institution shall in particular refrain from act of omission or commission either before or subsequent to the invocation of the guarantee which may adversely affect the interest of the trust as a guarantor. That is, before invocation of claim, the bank should exhaust all the recovery proceedings including initiation of legal action. So that means you have to go and file the case, then only you have to approach the CGT-MSE. That is trust. That is initiation of legal action before SARFAESI, Revenue Recovery Authority, Civil Court, DRT or Lok Adalat. Every legal action has to be initiated. In case any settlement claim is being preferred, then the MLI has to get the same approved by the trust and act accordingly. The banks cannot do OTS under this scheme on their own. They have to consult the trust and they have to go for the settlement. The lending institution shall also ensure that either through a stipulation in an agreement with the borrower or otherwise that it shall not create any charge on the security held in the account covered by the guarantee for the benefit of any account not covered by the guarantee with itself or in favor of any other creditor without informing the trust. Further, the lending institution shall secure for the trust or its appointed agency through a stipulation in an agreement with the borrower or otherwise the right to list the defaulted borrower's names and particulars on the website of the trust. So that is publication of names in the defaulter list and that should be published in the website of the trust. The lending institution shall submit such statements and furnish such information as the trust may require in connection with any credit facility under this scheme. The lending institution has to maintain all records, statement of accounts and the borrower's details as per the instruction given by the trust. The trust has got the right to carry out the inspection at the lending institution or at the borrower to verify the records and the account for verification. The inspection has to be carried out by the officers of the trust or SIDBI or any other agency appointed by the trust in this regard. Both the lending institutions and borrowers have to cooperate towards inspection and the same has to be confirmed in the agreement entered between the trust and lending institution. In turn, the lending institution has to enter into agreement with the borrower with reference to inspection procedures. The trust reserves itself the right to modify, cancel or replace the said scheme so, however, that the rights or obligations arising out of or accruing under the guarantee issued under the scheme up to the date on which the such modification, cancellation or replacement comes into effect shall not be affected. Notwithstanding anything contained herein, the trust shall have the right to alter the terms and conditions of the scheme in regard to an account in respect of which guarantee has not been issued as on the date of such alteration. In the event of the scheme being cancelled, no claim shall lie against the trust in respect of facilities covered by the scheme unless the provisions contained in the scheme are complied with by the lending institution prior to the date on which the cancellation comes into force. With reference to any clarification or interpretation of the scheme, the decision of the trust / CEO of the trust shall be final. If you need any queries to be answered under this scheme, you can mail to querysubject@cgtmse.in. So here I have given only the highlights of the scheme. If you want to go in detail, you have to go and refer the circulars issued by the trust and RBI. And this is the information I want to share through this video presentation. Thanks for watching this video presentation. Nandri, Vanakkam.